a sad thing is there are still publications coming out on a wide variety of nonsensical things. So, for example, effective communication with dolphins on children suffering from functional stuttering treated in a sanitarium. So they had kids who were relegated to a institution play with dolphins or talk to dolphins, and they measured their outcomes. Now, I know it seems like this is pretty far away from the neurological evidence, and maybe I put it in just to take a break from the denseness of the material, but one of the speakers that I'm hoping to have come in, a friend of mine who stutters, he's from Argentina, and when he came to the United States, he had the highest of hopes of, I can finally get help for my stuttering, it's American and all, and the first speech pathologist he went to, speech pathologist, not psychiatrist, recommended he get on Prozac because of his anxiety, and not anxiety, because of his ADHD, or what she said, hyperactivity, or whatever, and that there was nothing that she could do for him. He didn't come back to therapy for 18 years after the fact because of that experience. And think of the negativity that happened at the time, throughout that time. A feeling of hopelessness, loss, failure, a lot of stuff. And when he went to a therapist after that, the first thing that he said that the therapist said was, I can't cure you, but there is hope. We can make progress. And having that experience and that contradiction to what he was previously told opened up his life for new potentials. And he stutters a lot, and yet he says and does what he wants to do, and he sees his experience through that as a very successful therapeutic experience and having a very positive effect on his life. So I guess why I'm bringing this in also is the idea of motivation and hope. Telling someone there is hope, I can help, and even framing it in, I can't cure you, but we can make progress. I can help you. And having hope changes neural functioning too. Being in a state of depression or a constant state of anxiety negatively influences brain activity as well, which I'm not going to go into that. And negativity is could have multiple interpretations, but I'm just going to leave it. So some of the more current, and I say more current because there are hundreds of theories out there, more coming up all the time, but these are some of the more standout ones, I guess. Max's, for example, is one of the first ones to actually use software and programming to synthesize a developed stuttering using the inverse model of sensory motor control. His theory of stuttering is that there's a feed-forward system and a feedback system, and stuttering occurs due to an over-reliance on the feedback system, and that delayed auditory feedback, or those altered feedback signals, influence the feed-forward system. So it reduces the over-reliance on the feedback system, so the brain can spend more energy focusing on the feed-forward models of speech. There's the variability model 2, which is similar but is more non-linear, saying that there are these areas that there are feed-forward and feedback systems, but they're integrated and affecting each other. Owl's explain model is an execution and planning area, and based on the idea of an external timekeeper, so that stuttering is actually disrupted because the internal timing mechanism for speech is disrupted, and by adding an external timekeeper, either through pacing, delayed auditory feedback, something or other, it shifts the flow of activity from the medial pathway to a lateral pathway. So from a dorsal to ventral stream. And it might help to just briefly look up the dorsal and ventral stream hypotheses, which hopefully you've had in some of your neurogenic courses. The vicious circle model is another one that has similar proponents of feed forward and feedback, but that exposure to negative experiences and production errors reinforces negative cues and negative productions. And Katagiri's is more multifactorial. There are social aspects, emotional aspects, and those do play into the feed-forward and feedback systems. Non-linear emergent phenomenon is saying that the brain is a blob, and there's likely feed-forward controls and feedback assimilations, but they don't say when things are happening or what area is going to what. It's a true interactionist model that proposes these different conceptual frameworks and saying everything is interacting with each other, but it's somewhere in this whole characterization of the production process that something's going on.